This video is sponsored by Shebop. Shebop is a woman-owned sex toy boutique for everybody, specializing in body-safe products and education. Visit sheboptheshop.com to shop online or take classes.
Something that was coming up for me when you were talking is I felt like a little bit of envy that you just get to automatically be a daddy. That role, you just get like that association. And I'm like, I want that association. Like as a person who leans more dominant and more top, like I have to work my ass off to be daddy because of the package that I'm in. Like when I was on a camping trip recently with my kid, and the kids were like all playing around and they're like, okay, the women here can watch the kids while the guys go and like chop the wood and do the thing with the bees and like cook the food. And I'm like, I want to go to the beehives and do the thing with the bees. I want to chop the wood. Like it just, still these stereotypes of what people are supposed to do. And that comes up to me even in my sex life, when people want like more of a mommy figure, or they want more of a submissive woman. And I'm just like, that's not me. Like, I want to be able to graduate to daddy when I get a gray hair. Like, so it's interesting how much it's just given to some people based on their appearance. Like if you're, an older man, or if you're tall, or if you're muscular or something, you're probably going to get that role just assigned to you or assumed about you. When if you don't look that way, you got to work for it. You got to prove your daddiness.
Exactly. And just for the record, I've been fisted by a woman and I have been pegged. So, hey,
I'm all. That's what I'm talking about. Like
she was in charge.
Good.
She was in charge, and I was like, yes.
You have to work for that authority.
She worked years for it.
Yeah.
She's gonna kill me when she sees this.
AJ, I'd love to ask, this may be on a more innocent side of things, but on the camping trip, when it was suggested that all the men go off and do the man work and the women watch the kids, as a parent, bring back to the idea of a sex positive parent, do you address that to your child at all? Do you say like, hey, listen, this is what's going on, it's not how it has to be? Or do you let them take it in? Are you protective at all?
I'm very protective. And I'm not the kind of person who just lets things go. Like I said in there, I was like, I want to learn how to do the thing with the bees. And I've been with the kids all day. Let's switch roles for a while. It's good for the kids to see different genders going and doing different roles. And that's how it is in my family too. I make sure that we all, take equal turns doing different kinds of chores and different kinds of childcare, so that my child sees that it's not just men do the chopping wood and women do the childcare, that everybody can do the childcare, everybody can do the chopping wood just based on their own personal abilities and interests. So I try not to just let those things go. I try to speak up about it.
And that's excellent. It sounds like it's about intentionally setting new models, because it takes effort when there are already models in place.
Yeah, and it's hard. I get a lot of pushback from the family, just being like, you just let it be easy for a while and not have everything be a learning lesson about gender and feminism. And I'm like, no, it has to be. There's especially the older generation. Sometimes they get exhausted with how much I'm just really trying to show equality.
And there's so much to push back against.
And showing equality is exhausting too.
It sure is, yes. Something I thought about when James was talking about just kink in general, and it made me think about how there's this pushback sometimes in the community of what a pride parade should look like if youth are going to be there, and how people get upset if there's puppy play or leather daddies or any sort of kink or anything, and they just want it to be wholesome queer families and wearing rainbows, but it's yeah, it's infuriating when what queer people have had to go through of the reasons we have pride parades, that children should know about their history, especially if they're, I think all children should, but especially if they're in LGBT families, that it's not something that you have to explain the kinky details about why someone's in a puppy mask. You know, you can find age appropriate ways of explaining why people wear leather or why people have puppy gear or whatever. Like they're, you know, playing pretend in an adult way with other adults, and they're excited and proud of it. And so they're part of the parade too. I just think about that, how like there's certain kinds of like queer that's acceptable around children. And it just is basically, if it looks like traditional monogamous, like kind of standard, you know, like nuclear family stuff is kind of like what is presented as acceptable. And I'm like, isn't that kind of like what the whole queerness and like Pride Parade is about, is that it doesn't have to be that, and that people can be themselves? It's just interesting to see that kind of pushback from so many people who are like, yay for gay marriage, but like there should not be kinky people around. No one should have leather or chains or, you know, BDSM gear or anything.
I'm a pup. I've got my puppy gear in the corner over here. I haven't worn it in a while. But, you know, I taking a kid to a Pride Parade, yes. Taking your kid to Folsom Street Fair, no.
Yeah.
But information is so valuable that you need to educate yourself as well on kids. As an actor and a director, kids are so smart. I've done kids theater. Kids are really, really smart. They are so smart from the time they're able to walk. They understand a lot more than you know. So don't water it down for them. There's no point in restricting the information from them. They're going to get it no matter what, but help them understand it. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I wish I knew more about this when I was growing up, because I'm now living a full life, and I wish I'd learned about it a lot safer. There's a lot of trauma I experienced, even growing up as a kid, from men who were not clear on their sexual identity, you know, and let's be serious here. We're talking about parenting. We're talking about sex here. Like, you know, sometimes abuse happens to kids, and it's just, you know, there's so many situations where people just need to be really honest about who they are, and honest about boundaries, and honest about communication. Just taking those things away creates really dangerous environments for all of us. And I just can't stress that any further.
Yeah, they say that one of the best ways to make it so that your child is not a victim of abuse is to educate them on boundaries, on consent, on scientific names for their body parts, so that if someone touches them somewhere, they can use the right words to talk about it. You know, like that you don't have a secret, shameful language in your family, because then that makes it easier for people to be like, this is our secret, and for the shame to have them not speak up about it. So like part of being a sex positive parent is raising your kid with the ability to say no, and to know when something's wrong, and to come tell you about it. So it's like the more we hide from our kids, the more at risk we're putting them. You know, it's the opposite of what people think. Like, our kids are going to be in danger if they're exposed to this stuff, but like really they're more danger if they're not exposed to these things. And again, like Eric said, it's about age appropriateness. It's about boundaries. Like, those are crucial for sex positive parenting. And that makes the distinction between doing something that's like sketchy or harmful, and doing something that's absolutely age appropriate and helpful for your kid's development and self-esteem.
I'll tell you what I'm hearing, and it's interesting you talk about, you know, bringing kids to a Pride Parade, and should they see a bunch of puppy play or whatever, and that there is reaction where people would say like, no, you can't let kids around that. I'll say personally, like my gut reaction is, yeah, you shouldn't let kids see that kind of kink stuff at all. And again, that's my gut reaction, thinking, yeah, because it's weird. And I have to stop myself and ask, is it inherently weird, or is that just what I've accepted? And, you know, start to question what that is. So I appreciate hearing these other perspectives and saying like, yeah, maybe there is, like you said, an age appropriate way. James, like you're saying, kids are smart, and it's not like they're going to, just become corrupted. That feels like a toxic word anyway. I feel like I'm not articulating myself well.
To be clear, Eric, you're not saying that the kinky people in the parade are weird. You're saying it's weird that a kid should see that. Is that what you were saying? That was your gut?
I'm saying that's my gut reaction, but I don't want to trust that gut reaction. But yeah, no, that kink play at all, whatever you're into, you're into. I don't think that's weird. You do you. But yeah, the whole idea of what children can accept, I think I need to question it. I think it's work to question it, and it's uncomfortable but valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like James said, it's not fulsome. So at pride parades, usually it's just people walking down the street wearing their gear. So it's a difference between doing an active scene and like obviously that we don't want the youth to see. There's a difference between doing an active scene and just walking down the street in the garb that makes you feel comfortable and sexy and proud.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, yeah, listen to your gut and then ask your gut, like, okay, what's the thing that bothers me here? And if it's like, okay, well, I don't want children to be exposed to things that could be harmful to them, that's a great instinct to have. But then think like, is it harmful for people to dress up and make believe? No, like children and adults do it all the time. So this is just like an extension of that if they're not doing scenes, it's just that this has like a sexual connotation on it because we know as adults what happens behind the bedroom or dungeon doors, right? Mm-hmm. But kids don't have that. They don't have that connotation. They don't know what happens behind the bedroom doors or that this isn't even necessarily a bedroom thing, that this is even like a sexual thing. It could just be like these silly people like dressing up like puppies, Like we're making it into the thing, not them. Yeah.
And they're usually just playing. They're just playing. They're not like playing puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you think about it, everything that kids see on billboards and magazines on the internet is sexualized. Everything is sexual. So it really is no different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'd rather my child see a leather daddy than somebody who's doing violence to another person, but that's totally normalized. Mm-hmm. And that's what we grow up with in our culture. So it's fine. It's because of the culture and what's acceptable. I remember when I was in Germany, I was an exchange student in high school. And one of my first days there, I woke up and was just kind of groggily, looking at the TV. And I was like, oh my God, there's a completely nude woman on TV. She's got a bush. She's no pasties or anything. Her nipples are on television in the morning. This isn't Cinemax. And the commercial is just her walking over to the fridge, opening it up and taking a drink of juice and looking like, oh, I'm guilty. I took it right out of the thing. It was like a juice commercial. Like, this juice is so good, you're not even going to pour it in a glass. She put it back in the fridge and I was just like, did you all see that? She was naked drinking juice. They're like, yeah, that's what you do. You get up in the morning, you didn't sleep in clothes, you get your juice. Well, why are you making it to a big deal, weird American? And I was just like, she's naked on TV. Did you just see her bush and nipples? And they're like, yes, that is what humans have, and the bush and the nipples. They're just very practical. What are you? Because you're an American. That's why this is a big deal to you. And so it's so much of this is cultural stuff. In other cultures, this is, the nudity isn't a problem. The dressing up in things isn't a problem. It's just it is what it is, part of life.